Friday Art Discovery Series. Here we are. This is our 4th Friday already. Can't believe that's how fast we're going through the show this year. So today is going to be a very interesting discussion, I think. It's one of my favorite things is jewelry. You always have room for more jewelry. You know, it's not like you have to find a wall space. But you can though. I do have some of my jewelry kind of draped over framed pieces of art, so I can buy two art forms. So, but today we have so many great jewelers at the Celebration of Fine Art. So today we carefully selected a panel that, for me, when I look at their work, it really spoke to me in the fact that it kind of echoes architecture and influence of buildings and shapes and forms. So this is the architectural influence on jewelry. So this will be very interesting, and of course we'll get into the basics of jewelry that we all love as well. But in addition to this wonderful panel that I'll introduce, we have exhibiting here today in our show with other jewelers. We have Paul Farmer, who does goldsmith and fine gemstones, and we have Roland, who does beautiful hill tribe silver and luscious gemstones and semi-precious stones. We have Adriana Sokol, who's new this year, that does beautiful woven. I actually have a piece of hers on, but quite lovely. And then, did I get everybody on that side? Besides you two? Yeah. Then we have Wendy and Joe Edwards, who are new this year, that do beautiful cloisonne work, very unique and something we haven't had before here. And we have Luciano Bortone, who, if you run opals, he's got some killer opals over there to check out. But we got a little cheering section for Luciano. And then today with me is our wonderful panel. Starting right next to me is Isabelle Posilico, and Isabelle divides her time between here and Washington. So we get her during the winter months here in Arizona. And then next to her is Diana Ferguson, who is now a full-time Arizona transplant from Wisconsin. We're happy to have Diana here. And then new to our show this year, somebody whose work I fell in love with first time I saw it, Michael Mccray. In fact, and Michael's from Utah, Park City, beautiful mountain town. So some of you may know that we launched a beautiful marketplace on our website where you can actually go online and shop online and buy stuff right there. Well, it was my job to test it out and make sure that the purchase part worked. So the first thing I purchased were these Michael Mccray earrings that I loved, and he sent them right away. It was perfect execution of the marketplace. So anybody who knows me knows I love jewelry, and I have a lot from all of you. On any given week, I might have a Diana Ferguson on at least twice. They travel great, wonderful, wonderful. So Isabelle, would you just start telling a little bit about yourself, and then we'll go down the architectural road discussion after we get some better introductions.
I'm Isabelle Posilico, and like she said, I'm here in Phoenix and also Anacortes, Washington. I have a new studio up there, and my background is actual architectural interior design, and that's kind of translated into jewelry over the years.
And you'll definitely see that we're going to be bringing some of this up closer to the camera as we discuss as well too. So, Diana.
Hi everyone. I'm Diana Ferguson, and I've been a full-time jeweler for about 15 years. My background originally was more in marketing and corporate business, so this has been a really amazing and wonderful transition for me over the years, and I love what I do.
And Mike?
Yep, and I'm Michael Mccray, Park City, Utah. My background is primarily photography for the majority of my career. Last 7, 8, 9, 10 years, moved into more metalsmithing, metalsmith designer. So I think on the front of that, I'm a relative newcomer to that, very unconventionally taught.
And did you kind of do trial and error and taught yourself a little bit as well?
Yeah, in the beginning. In the beginning, it's like, wow, look at those earrings. Those are kind of cool. I can do that. Yeah. And YouTube, a little bit of that, and then thought, well, yeah, I better take a class so I don't blow my house up. I don't know what I'm doing or smelling that or whatnot. So yeah, and then just down that road, making a lot of expensive mistakes, and then trying not to do that twice.
Isn't that how we all learn? I love it. Well, and I have to say, when I started kind of taking over the jurying and the placement of artists and stuff, I hadn't really connected the dots that a lot of jewelers need torches. I don't know that Diana uses too many torches, but
I just use the little butane.
The little butane, but they have to make things stick. In fact, I caught a little video of Michael earlier today with the torch, right, just as he was getting the pieces to stick. So we're gonna pass around and show some of those things as we go forward. But starting with the foundation of this topic, the architectural influence, for me, you see the lines, you see the structure, the design work that goes into these pieces, and it's not just a random orientation. You really are putting the line work, to me, is what strikes me about a lot of your pieces. You have your ribbon series. So I'm going to hold this up to the camera. I promise to be careful. And I'd love for you to share a little bit about why the lines and the ribbon work is signature of your work.
So the bottom piece is one of my time ribbon series pieces, which is published in a couple of books. And that came about because I like things with structure. And so I was trying to make something that was more three-dimensional, that had some volume to it, and also lightweight to wear. Because as a jeweler, I like to have things that are actually practical to wear, that are functional, that aren't too heavy, but also have some structure as far as volume. The top piece is one of my satellite series pieces, which has my carnelian stone in the center, and then it has rubies and sapphires, little diamonds. So it's a combination of colors together that they need to be cohesive as a, I guess as a, I'm trying to think of what the word is. For me, it's kind of a collaboration of each piece. I kind of do a sketch, and then I kind of do the line work. Sometimes the line work is really easy, and then I start soldering all of the little pieces together, and then I get myself in trouble, like, how am I going to set that stone if this wire goes this way? It's kind of fun to play with the different colors. So if you come to my booth, each case I have, it's worked by different colors of gemstones, because everyone has their favorite colors and different gems. You have a question?
What was the stone in that top piece?
The centerpiece is it's carnelian, or also orange chalcedony. So it's a type of agate. So it's a good stone for a ring. I actually have a ring of it as well. So
I think Beth is showing that online.
yeah. And this piece, I have 4 different bails on the back, so you can hang it in different directions. And the same also with the pendant piece. You can put the chain through in different ways as well. So, but each piece is done as this kind of starts as a little bit of a sketch. So I have an idea of kind of how the balance of the stones will go. And I have squares and rounds and ovals together. And it kind of creates, each piece is more of a one of a kind.
And would you say that you have been influenced by the architectural lines and designs of buildings and
oh yeah, so I'm taking photos of buildings and windows and how actually telephone wires and structures that are built. Those are things that I'm very much interested in. And then it's like, well, how can that translate into something? These are more curved and more soft. Some of my earlier pieces were more linear. But it kind of evolves over time. But I like lines. I like pencil drawings with straight lines and curved lines, and so that kind of translates to those.
That's wonderful. And I think when we circle back, it will be fun to talk a little bit about your dance partner series that are very fun, and you can explain why you did that. So Diana, you're very creative. Like, she's constantly coming up with new ideas.
as they all are,
I'm
but
crazy.
she's crazy and she's very patient. But there's some photographs behind you of your pedal to the metal series that you did that were more
Mixed media with paper and resin and metal.
and then we can talk a little bit about some of your other.
Right. I love mixed media. I like experimenting and evolving my materials and designs over time. So I've gone from the pedals to the metal earrings, which I still make and love making, to polymer, which is a synthetic clay. Polymer, Polymer, and then something that I've always loved is beading. And only more recently have I kind of put some more focus on that passion. So yeah, so these are, yes, they're brooches, and in some cases pin pendants. And they're very intricate little constructions with glass cylinder beads and needle and thread.
So geometrics,
Yes.
how have they inspired your work?
I'm really interested in physics and structure, and a lot of my inspiration has come from just a movement called contemporary geometric beadwork, which is very involved with physical structures and what can you do with beads. It's an open source movement, so people share their discoveries, and basically you just kind of go out, and they're not really always planned as they sort of evolve the designs. I love Frank Lloyd Wright. So yeah, I find that often my work is some synchronicity involved in it, and just following what happens and taking the direction of the piece. Each step inspires me to the next step.
So you may or may not have it all
I
planned out.
rarely have it all planned, almost never.
So how does the process start?
Okay, so with a piece like this, I'm going to start with a little core. It looks like a little crown bead structure. It looks like a little crown. It's hard to describe. And then I will build off of that, and you're working around in a circle, around and up.
Hold your mic.
And the secret of this type of beading is there's 3 maneuvers you can do. You can increase your row length, you can decrease your row length, or you can keep it the same. And if you vary those strategically and you use a really good strong tension on your thread, that's how you get the shapes. And so
how often do you have to back up as opposed to you've got
The question was, how often do you have to back up?
Probably more than I would like. I'm a good bead breaker too. I can break beads in the middle of a piece and replace, if I realize, oh my gosh, I don't like that color, or I made a mistake there, I can break an individual bead and replace it. Sometimes I'll back up, and sometimes I just let the mistake be and use that to kind of inspire what comes next instead of unraveling it. So, and neat things come out of that sometimes.
So one thing you've done this year, these are your brooches, you also have pendants, you're wearing earrings that are the geometric shapes, all glass beads?
All glass beads. They're high quality beads called delicas or toho, and they're made in Japan, and they have large holes in them, so that you can do a lot of thread passes through each bead, which is important for this. And they're very uniform, like in their size and their color, so they lay well together. And so it's a patented process that these manufacturers have come up with for how to create these really delicate, tiny little beads that are very consistent.
And I love what you've done with the brooches
You can wear a hat pin on a jacket, whatever. And then she's built these little display things so your jewelry can become functional art in your home, right?
And I think that's a really important, especially for something like this. I have these little ceramic pots with stones in them and a little brass cylinder. So then you could stick the stick pin part into the cylinder and use it as a little art display.
Then you don't have to worry about hiding it in your drawer. Yeah. So, okay, so Michael, again, when I first saw your work, for me, it had an elegant and organic quality to it all at the same time. And part of what attracted me to it was the shape and the design and the line work. And again, that's why when I was putting together the program, I'm like, we have these beautiful works of art that I see that the architecture, the geometry, and the line work, and how it's influenced your jewelry, and it just really resonated. And I love how you do the small, I think I'll pass around. What should I pass around? This one, and then maybe this one. Something like this is what you were working on welding when I walked by earlier, correct?
Correct.
Tell us how you do this.
Well, basically start with raw stock and
Dude, hold your mics really close like an ice cream.
Is this better?
Much.
Oh,
There you go.
so yeah, I'm starting with a sheet of silver. A lot of pieces that I end with are basically repurposed. I save all my clippings, all my filings. I'll either ball them up, bead them up, and try to use every bit of material that I can. But the thought process when I'm making, I guess, is again back to the photographic days and the influences there. You'll notice a lot of my work tends to have a lot of black and white, and I shot a lot of that in those days. And I think when we talk about architecture, we talk about design. One of the main jobs, say, as a photographer, is to declutter or maybe make sense of all the lines, all the intersections, all the contrasts, all the colors, and try to bring that down to a simpler form and something that is a little more focused or a little more cohesive. So that is a major driver, and it's interesting. If you look in my shop or my drawers of raw stock, it's very chaotic, and it almost makes me a little bit nervous. Like it's like, whoa, look at all that. And so as the whole process starts to get simplified, the art, I have an idea what's going to happen, and what I'm trying to execute. But then it all becomes, how much of this shape should be allowed? Where's my attention going to be? And then how do I want it to feel? Working with all your senses, minus the smell, which unfortunately I'm using a lot of liver of sulfur, which is really stinky stuff. But it's the weight, it's the dimension, it's everything. So, yeah. That makes sense?
Well, it does, and I was a little bit distracted by showing off this gorgeous work, but you work in silver?
Right, silver, a lot of the different alloys or metals, or I'll make my alloy. This Shibuichi is a combination of fine and copper. Make my own ingots or roll that out. A lot of sterling, some fine, a little bit of gold. I love brass, bronze, and I love copper. They all work. Yep.
If you had to estimate how much of it is intuitive and how much of it is planned.
How much is intuitive and how much is planned for those of you at home?
Right. It's funny. I always think I'm going to be all my little sketches. I have this is what we're going to do. Now, if I'm doing an absolute, like a piece for you and I want it exactly, then that's very, very common. But I think part of the whole process and the art of it is the let it go. So is to be intuitive. And sometimes when Susan came by today, I was having a hard time getting those darn little things to stick on there, and so maybe it shouldn't have been there, or you know, that's an easy answer. But you know, it's definitely intuitive more than planned with me for sure.
So this piece that's actually in our program, and therefore I think Beth, if you might be able to pull it up on the share screen. I love this because we've got like what I would call kind of rough textured raw silver. You've got highly polished silver. You've got little ingots of gold. That's probably not a word, an ingot or little dots, little gold dots. And then there's like little diamonds embedded in here. This is like a stunning piece of sculpture that you would wear. And it kind of reminds me of a starry sky too. So what was the inspiration for this piece?
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, and it really does kind of get back to architecture or space. It's like if you were in a warehouse and maybe the grungy floors, but the exposed brick and the beautiful steel windows. And in the middle of this room was this amazing, say, Persian rug or this beautiful Steinway. It's like, wait a minute, what is that doing here? It doesn't. Yeah, so you know, that's what's so cool. It's like it's so unexpected. Yeah. That's where I'm going.
Yeah. There it is. Everybody really liked this when I walked around with it. So, fantastic. So I love how you talked about that you kind of just sometimes just go with the feeling. You guys each have a general plan, a general construction plan, but then I do think the gift of the artist is where you allow maybe the metal or the stones to speak to you. And one thing that Isabelle is known for, in addition to her satellite, is what we call the dance partners. And you should tell them how the inspiration for that happened and what that's all about.
So I have a series called the Dance Partners. They're earrings and they're mismatched. And I go and choose gemstones. Like usually I go down to the Tucson Gem Show and hand select stones. Didn't happen this year, but I have plenty to choose from, boxes from years and years of going. I might find a stone because I pick it because I like the cut, the quality, the shape. But then I don't have a pair, and I sell mostly earrings. So what I came up with is my dance partner earrings. So they're matched by length and color, and I do them like say I have a green tourmaline on one top and a green tourmaline on the bottom, and then pearls that are matching, but you know, top and bottom a little different. But it's a matching cohesive set. It's just they're mismatched. Some people are quite concerned I wasn't paying attention when I made them, and they're like, "Do you know this don't match?" And then others are like, "Oh, I love that." So it's definitely fun to see how people react, but they do pay attention. It's like, "Oh, those are different," and like, "Oh, I have stones. Can you do something with them?" So I do a lot of commission work as well in the series, like with the series here and with the mismatched earrings, because we don't always have things that are matchy, and people kind of like that. So it's kind of fun to play with as many stones as possible, and that's how I could do that with the Dance Partner series. So.
I love that. And to me, that's like the perfect marriage of the design work, because you're taking different stones but making them look like they all play together, and complementing the stones. And I love that. I think all of you do commission work as well. So if you have something special that you're needing something for, they can create it. You can use your own stones in some cases, or you know, just really become involved in that process, and that's pretty fun. A lot of people like that. You briefly touched, Diana, on your polymer, which I'm going to give you ladies a hint. If you travel and you want to take lightweight jewelry, you can take a pair for every day of the week of your pedal to the metal or your polymer, and it doesn't add any weight, and you've got every color that you need. So one of the many reasons I love those.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, polymer is a very creative material. There's a very lot that you can do with it to express your ideas. And so it's been a great way for me to work with color and pattern. And there's some very complex techniques that I am able to incorporate into the pieces, and also some simple, just geometric shapes, circles, half circles. Yes.
I'd just like to say Diana's actually very, very good at making your favorite team earrings.
Yeah, that's
She
nice.
makes, she's made me Arizona State earrings with the
Yes.
sun devil on it.
Yes.
And
the-
she's made that school in the other part of the state for my daughter, which we shall not
That we
mention.
shall not mention.
Yeah, but she makes great stuff
Thank you.
and great commission pieces too.
Thank you. Thanks.
And that's more in your pedal to the metal series, right?
Yeah, the sports teams would be pedals to the metal, although I could probably do something with polymer as well, which would be new and fun, but yeah.
So you make the polymer in shapes. How do you shape them? What do you use to cut them out?
Either I have a really extensive collection of cookie cutters from all over the world in all kinds of interesting shapes. I love hearts, so I'm always looking for whimsy hearts wherever I can find them that are the right size. And sometimes I just use a tissue blade, which is a super, 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 super sharp blade, and I will just freeform my shapes. So it kind of depends upon how precise. If I need a circle, I'm going to use a cutter. If I'm just trying to make a general, oblong or type of shape, I would just use the tissue blade.
And didn't you get some cookie cutters?
I just had them from Belgium.
Belgium, okay.
Yes.
Belgian cookie
They
cutters
were
to make jewelry.
heart cookie cutters. Yeah. And I waited and waited and waited and waited and waited, and they finally came.
So if somebody needs some heart-shaped earrings for an upcoming special holiday, we could probably do that. Huh?
Yes.
So speaking of holidays, I mean, how many times have you been involved in the secret gift giving, and how to keep it a secret from, like with one of these guys wanting to buy their, or I know a lovely lady just bought a bracelet for her boyfriend, and they had been in the show. This is kind of a fun story. They had been in the show walking around, and he tried on the men's bracelet that you had, and he loved it, and he didn't get it. And they left, and she said, I've been trying to think what to get him for Valentine's Day. And after we left, he's like, I should have gotten that. That was like the best bracelet ever. So we were involved in that secret. And so somebody's going to be opening a gift with your bracelet. Did you know that?
I did not know that part of the story, no. Thanks.
The things we learn in the office, like, what are you doing with that? And anytime somebody buys jewelry, we tell them to open the box and make sure it's what they thought it was. That's mostly because we want to see what you're getting. So, yeah, that's a little known secret. But so, Michael, your background was photography, and then you got into the jewelry making. Do you like the tactileness of it?
Absolutely, and again, working in a more of a two-dimensional form to hands-on, very dimensional. Plus, I'm a maker. I love working with my hands, and it's like freedom, finally. It just felt so good to move. The transition was, man, I never looked back. It's been good.
I love that. A maker. That's what we need. Maker people that make the rest of us feel better.
Yeah.
So it has, let's talk about any big challenges you've had in executing an idea. I'm sure all of you, Diana, I think I've even witnessed you undoing I think the question this gentleman asked earlier, like, this is not going where I thought it would, but you can rescue most of the beads.
Yeah, for the most part, I
Yeah.
can fix a problem. Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes other techniques, you just have to put it in the scrap pile and wait. And then you guys have a scrap pile of things, and sometimes you go back to that scrap pile and it's like, oh, now I know
Yeah,
how to salvage this little.
make it work.
Yeah. So no mistake goes
Yeah.
unrewarded.
So you mentioned earlier you sell mostly earrings.
This year it's mostly rings and bracelets. It seems like even necklaces. Earrings not as much. It's harder with the masks. So I think that will change once we all, get rid of these. But people still want to wear earrings, so I do sell a lot, but not as many this year. It's just changing.
Yeah, you have to make sure your earrings are in front of the loops and don't get stuck.
Yeah.
This is Isabelle Posilico.
Very much.
Yes, I know you weren't here in the beginning. So Isabelle Posilico, and I think in the program we have one of your satellite rings of this series. And in the middle is Diana Ferguson and Michael Mccray on the end. So we always love to answer questions from the audience, both present and yes, Elizabeth. I'll come over here so we can hear you. Yeah, we want to get rid of this mask.
First of all, I want to compliment the three artists because it's never easy to talk about your work and you make it look so easy. So I wanted to compliment you on that. I think it's more of a general question. As we looked through the booth and through the whole show, we saw lots of big pieces and you sell really small pieces. Can you tell us a little bit about that experience as we all walk through the show?
So it's an interesting question. That's actually very good. Yes, I have little pieces and I'm across from my husband who's a painter with very big pieces. He has big color, I have little color. It is a different audience for sure. And people are looking very specifically, when they look at jewelry, they're looking for something either for themselves or for a gift. So for me, I have it set up as color per case. So they go from case to case to look at color, what draws their attention. And even within the pieces they're looking at, there's something that has to catch their eye. They have to be specifically kind of thinking jewelry to be looking at jewelry, I think. They do get sidetracked because they're looking at large pieces and they have a purpose, but then, oh, jewelry, I like jewelry, or I have a gift to give to somebody. So it's more of a practical thing. And then they realize, oh, well, then I can wear this. I don't have to find a piece, wall space and such. So that's a good question.
That's a good question. And then also being extra careful this year when people are trying on and, making sure we're cleaning everything and yeah.
Being careful.
Yeah.
I guess I would echo much of what Isabelle said. My work is fairly exuberant, I guess you would say, in terms of color and size. So it's somewhat easy to see, but I mean, it's definitely a challenge sometimes not to be sort of invisible. But I always find my people find me, and it works out well. So yeah.
Yeah, and I can totally see what you're saying. As a newcomer this year, so taken by all the art and the courtyard. So yeah, you get this visual overload. You're like, whoa, yeah, it's a lot to take in, and it's yeah. I mean, I have little things, things that you wear, but I think the people that come by, it's almost like a little resting spot. And again, like the way I like to work in how the work takes shape is, to me, it's calming and it's soothing, and I think the people that are, as you walk by and you see it, I would hope that you would get that feeling. It's like, oh, okay, I can take a breath now a little bit. I'm hoping that's what you feel.
I have one other just real quick observation too, is that sometimes I think people are enjoying the show for seeing the process. And I do think sometimes our process, be it beading or soldering or setting a stone or whatever it may be, is just fascinating. And it's different. It's different than painting, and it's something that I find is very engaging for our patrons and visitors.
Absolutely agree with that.
So I wanted to ask Michael, photography is very much about spatial recognition and how you maneuver the image you're trying to create. How does that impact your art?
Yeah, highly impact. Again, I'm very, very sensitive to space, and whether it's a negative space or positive space, do I need some room there? Am I tangent on that? How is this piece, this little thing work with that next one? It's all about that. When I look at my work too, a lot of my stones I'll set in their frame. It's like, that's a photograph right there, and my job at this point, I think, that is a beautiful stone. My job is not to muck that up. I mean, let's give it a nice frame to showcase that. So, yeah, the spatial awareness and the composition is all about it, and I think in my work in photography. So.
Yeah, that's an excellent observation and question there. And I think in addition to all of the artistic value that goes into the creation and the people being able to watch that, y'all are also masters at displaying your work, and that is part of the art, and that's what invites people in. And back to your point, Elizabeth, I mean, it's easy to be overwhelmed here because there is so much, and the artists are all really skilled at making sure that they've done their job to draw you in and to bring you to that point where you can rest your eye on this, and just very inviting and engaging. But and it's, for a first year person, it's always overwhelming. And we had never met before, and I remember meeting Isabelle actually the first time at Sausalito, and of course I bought a set of bangles, so you can always pack jewelry in your carry-on, so it's easy. So and like I said, I have several necklaces. I bought a necklace like this in the ribbon series, that's the oxidized silver and gold. And I love it because it's like a touchstone. You just kind of spin it around, but we were somewhere together when I bought that. So I think jewelry, along with everything here, artwork makes you feel like you have something special, and it can take you back to, a memory or a moment. And the necklace I bought was for a very specific memory and something to celebrate. So I think it's so tactile and we love that we get to wear and feel something versus just look at it. So sometimes, we want to make sure we add art, wearable art to our collection. And we're working on a series that you'll be seeing some blogs on, curating a collection we're working with a $5,000 budget for this series. We may increase that in the future, but so our first one's coming out on a contemporary collection. And we didn't add any jewelry to this one, but you'll see in future collections that we'll be adding that into, suggested curation of artwork. So I guess a question I always like to ask artists is what kind of impact do you want to make through your jewelry, and how have you felt that you've done that with your collectors, and what feedback do you get?
I find it really gratifying when I know that somebody picks a piece in my case going, oh, I'm going to be wearing this, but I'm going to make sure this daughter has this piece, or my friend gets this piece, or they're picking something out of the case that they know is a gift for somebody, or there is a special occasion. There's a story behind it because they're picking the certain stones, not necessarily the birthstones, but we remember we were on this trip and we love this color, and this reminds me of something. There's a story with each piece, and that comes through more than anything.
I remember a story, you're going to remember it better than I do because I can't remember what her position was, but there was a young, mid-40s, I'd say, maybe early 40s, yes. And what did she do?
I don't exactly know what her job was, but she had to speak in front of the state legislature and such.
Yeah, it was like a really important job.
Yes, and she picked some of my large pieces with the oxidized silver and gold time ribbon beads, and she called those her power necklaces. And when she wore them, she had a certain feeling about it. And then she would come back the next year and say, okay, I need a new one, another one, because I wore this one for certain things. Yes, there was a quartz one, and there was the, let's see, zebra jasper, and I think there was a tiger eye as well. So, yeah, so it was interesting.
And that was interesting because I just happened to be walking by when this was going on, and she literally was like power stance standing there, and she was preparing for this incredibly important presentation that she had to make, and she was going to wear her power jewelry, and it just really resonated with me that she was going to walk in with that power and that confidence.
And I do hear from her, and she wears it now. She's not doing as many presentations right now, but she goes, I'm wearing it anyway, around the house with her kids.
Yeah. So, any other stories? And you talk, I'm walking.
Okay. I know for my jewelry, I like to help my customers, my clients to express their personality and their selves, and to make them feel beautiful. And I just take a lot of pleasure in interacting with my customers year after year and seeing them wearing my pieces and how much, I think, joy it brings to, and I feel like there's a strong connection, whether it's with color or shape, and it's just gratifying to me.
Yeah, as an artist and working, you become very passionate about how and what you're making. Sometimes with me, a little bit too passionate. I mean, I have to be with the piece just a little bit after I make it. I truly get attached to it, and if it gets sold too fast, it breaks my heart. I mean, it's like, it's like, oh, you look like you're going to a good home, but you can go in. But everybody, if we fit on the story, everybody has a story, and as an artist, if you can, if you can supplement that to somebody and be a part of their story, they get something that you've made to enhance their story. It's the best feeling. It's why I do it.
I'm back. I have another question. I think you brought it up, Susan and Isabelle. You talk about she, and Diana said she. I haven't heard he. So I see that there's an influence on females wearing jewelry. Love the story of the power necklace, because I think women, we do wear power boots, right? Or whatever that is. In your case, the jewelry. But Michael, I think you shared a very interesting story earlier about the he. Can you tell us more about the jewelry that you create for men?
The men's bracelet?
Okay, yeah, I mean, guys like to accessorize as well. And why do they want to accessorize? I think it's an individual decision. I wear my wedding ring and a ring. Sometimes I'll wear a cuff. Everybody's different. I think everybody wants to express themselves differently. Some guys just want that little piece of just something there, and some guys want that big chunky thing. That's their personality. Why do you? I can't answer for them. But again, it's back to the story, and I sell a lot of chains, a lot of pendants to men that no one ever sees, but it's under their shirt but it's close to their heart, and it becomes part of them.
Good. Yeah. So I do design men's jewelry, and it usually end up being a commission, so nobody really sees it because it's designed specifically for that person. I have one client who is a hunter, so I get a lot of his elk ivory. Over the years, I've done tuxedo studs, cufflinks, earrings, bolo tie. I'm working on another bolo tie for future for him, and so I also have done bracelets and such, but nobody sees them because they're gone. Cufflinks, same thing. Cufflinks are not that great here in the desert though, so I haven't made any new ones, but we do need to do a collection for men, and that is something that I am working on. So next year, need to have a case for that for sure.
I have a great story, I think, of men's jewelry. And since you might remember when I started making jewelry, I was doing chainmail, like beautiful sterling silver, intricate chainmail designs. And I had a colleague who I was friends with, him and his wife, and he had seen one of these bracelets, and it was heavy, heavyweight, just oxidized and polished and really beautiful. And he wanted one, so she bought it for him for his birthday. So that was great. And he wore it. I worked with him, so I saw him wear it every day. So I knew he loved it. Well, as it turns out, I got a call from Lori a couple years down the road. She says, Diana, Scott he gave away his bracelet to his best friend, because every time they would go out drinking, it was like, I love that bracelet. And he just one evening just gave it to his friend. And so she called me subsequently to make him another one. And I just thought that was a really neat story of jewelry, what it means to people individually, relationships, and so forth. So
it is really good. Jewelry is pretty personal, and I have a similar story to that. I had bought a ring from Ann Turpin Thayer that had a little tag that hung off of it that said survivor, because I'm a cancer survivor like many around, but I loved that ring, and we were out to dinner at Cantina Laredo, which we all miss if you used to go to Cantina Laredo. And we were sitting at the bar waiting for our table, and the woman next to me shared that she had just been diagnosed with cancer, and I was just like, here, you need this. And she was like, what? Actually, I think I went to the table and sat down. I'm like, I have to go back and give this to her, because I knew what it meant to me to have that. And those sort of like the touchstone, I think, is where the jewelry can really get to be so personal with us. And I'm married to a guy who doesn't wear anything jewelry-wise. He has some really nice jewelry, but he doesn't wear it because he doesn't want to get it stuck in a wrench or something. But how about the other men in the audience? You guys wear anything? No? Okay. But I think, and I like what you said too, Michael, about sometimes it's not seen by others, but it's got that personal message. So really, really a powerful message. So it's why I love what we do, because there's something for everybody here, and the talent. And I think so many people that come in here, first timers especially, they're blown away just by the whole entire show. But there's a lot of people who really don't have any idea what they could find here in terms of the fine jewelry, and especially the fact that you can get, beautiful custom-made works of art that you can wear and that you can share and you can hand down, and it becomes, a signature of yours. So it's very exciting. Do we have Deanna?
Voice. I just wanted to share a story, the same kind of thing, because when I first started coming to the show, you had Charles Duncan, and I always went straight to his booth after I discovered wearable art. And he always had a ring or a bracelet that was in my size. And he would say, here, Deanna, put this on, wear it around the show. And he had my number, and by the time I got back to his booth, the invoice was in the office because he knew I was going to buy it, and I still have just oodles and oodles of Charles Duncan. Yeah, great story. And I did have that Ann Thayer ring also. Yeah.
Amen, sister. Well, and that's kind of funny. So Charles Duncan was a wonderful jeweler who was with us for many years, and he's passed away. But he mentored Shelley Pale, and so she's kind of carried on his style of reticulation and the silver and gold, and she's taken really good care of his previous clients too, if they need things cleaned or repaired or whatnot. But the community here is pretty amazing. But yeah, that story is common around here. We all kind of know if you wear it, you might end up buying it. So be careful. Yes.
I have one more question. As we walk around the show, we don't touch anything. That's sort of a good rule of thumb. I have now a teenager, and that was one of the things that she had to learn. When it comes to your work, sometimes I see it behind a glass, and personally, I'm a little intimidated if it's behind the glass. That's nope, it's not a touching piece. Yet I see yours completely open and touchable. So I wanted to ask, one, is that a conscious choice? Two, do you want us to touch your work? Or three, there's a glass for a reason?
You're very detail oriented. I love it. Anyone?
Well, first of all, you told me there would only be easy questions. So moving away from that. Anyway. So on my booth, as the previous conversation, some are behind glass because the glass was lit, and maybe the stone seems better in that situation. For the most part, I like to have everything out in front and very touchable, because I think, again, looking at this piece, part of the experience is the actual feel of it, and it's important for me that you have that experience. But on the whole that sort of thing, we have to be very careful. And I actually have those infrared lamps. I'm constantly, they think it's like Darth Vader, Anyway, that's how.
For myself, it is a conscious decision. My pieces are relatively large, and they tend to be pretty tactile, so I want people to feel the texture of the beading. And then on some of the pieces, like the petal earrings, people would think they're so heavy, but they're actually extremely light. And I found over the years that it was to my benefit and my potential customers' benefit to be able to actually immediately ascertain they're not heavy. And so, I think I just sit down, for having done shows for quite a long time, that I was able to interact with my work and my potential customers most effectively by just letting, and people are wonderful. I mean, people often ask, can I touch? And so they're very respectful of the work. And I really have just been so fortunate in that I've never had a piece stolen. Well, one time, all of these years, did I ever have a piece stolen? And so I feel really comfortable with this approach for my specific type of work.
And mine is behind glass because it is more high value, being gold and the gemstones. And I just kind of make it as my store. So it's like a display as a store. So that's kind of why I keep it behind glass. Now I do take things out to show people, and I just have them corral their hands, and I wipe everything down so they can try things on. And And that's the extra little thing that we do. I do that anyway, if people are trying earrings on and such as in the past. So, but it's just an extra little bit of that. But,
And I do think it's a valid point too, that the lighting in the cases can really enhance the work, and it's important. So, yeah, it was a good question though. She is available for hire, she said, so when we need questions, I love it. And the fact that each of you has made your display so uniquely you, I think that again kind of speaks to the artistic input that you have, not just in the making, but in the exhibiting. And it creates a sense of place for people, again, to really feel like they're connected to you. So well done. Well done. Okay, you guys are the absolute best. Do we have any questions from our viewers online? Okay, because we don't want to ignore them, but just to thank you all for being here today, and I want to make sure you know where each of their studios are. So Isabelle is on this north tent, for those of you who are directional challenged, that side. About 2/3 down in a walkway by Paul Reimer's sculpture, wildlife sculpture. And Diana is just one more aisle past that on the inside aisle. And then Michael is on this south tent over here, about 3/4 of the way back on the outside alley. And I strongly encourage you guys to take some time and look at what they've got to share with you. And thank you for being here. And thank you to anybody who was able to join us online today. And let's see what we have in store for next week. Oh, next week is about considering a custom commission. And we're going to have a panel of artists who typically do a lot of commissions, maybe portrait work or specific pieces for your home. And we're going to talk a little bit about the process of all that and how to have it be great for both of you and what to expect and why it might be something you want to consider. So again, every one of these beautiful people will also do commission work, and we are just in time for Valentine's. So if you haven't already secured what you need for your person, we can help you out. So thank you so much. Have a great day. Thanks, Susan.